The point though is that there are a lot of forms of traffic, and it's important, especially for new authors, to really pinpoint that form of traffic that they want to study and they want to develop their skills and build out. However, though, my favorite, okay, form of traffic is getting Amazon to actually send people to your book.
Greetings, entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Secrets Podcast, the show that uncovers the secrets to win with books beyond book sales and dominate entrepreneurship. Through exclusive author interviews, stories, and must-have resources, you will discover some of the secrets and strategies to thrive with books and generate lasting income. I invite you to become an entrepreneur ambassador and join me in my mission to raise up 10,000 Caribbean entrepreneurs by 2030. Spread the word about the podcast and encourage more people to increase their impact and income with books beyond book sales. Without further ado, let's get into the show.
Dave Chesson is an American best-selling author, military veteran, book marketing expert, and a paid consultant to major publishing companies helping with digital sales, advertisement methods, and sales page optimizations. His work in publishing and book marketing has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Ali, Huffington Post, and even MarketWatch. In order to help authors reach new levels with their book marketing, he created Kindlepreneur as a free resource with the sole goal of giving you everything you need to take action and see results. He is also the software developer behind Atticus.io, a book formatting and writing tool, and Publisher Rocket, a book marketing tool. He has worked with many New York Times bestselling authors in multiple genres and topics like Ted Dekker, Orson Scott Card, Kevin J. Anderson, and more. Even Amazon has recognized Dave's book marketing strategies by officially saying that authors should gain insight from Kindlepreneur on how you can optimize marketing your books. Let's welcome Dave to the summit.
All right. So with that said, really, we're going to focus in on how new authors can be discovered on Amazon. Okay. What's beautiful about this subject is that no matter who you are or what level, just understanding how to get your book to really work in sync with Amazon gives you that opportunity to truly be discovered. And even if you're a big time author and you've made lots of sales, doing this right can only increase your reach and therefore increase your sales. But before we get into that, though, I really wanted to take a step backwards and I want to talk about book marketing core concepts. Now, I know this might sound a little bit maybe rudimentary, but I just want to start by beginning and talking about the three things that truly make up book marketing. Okay, the first is we need to publish a good book. All right, and I know that sounds obvious, but the steps that you take to make sure that your book is good, that your writing is clear, that you have a market in mind, these are all very important things. You can do the other steps to book marketing and totally miss the mark if your book was not put together. The second step is that the page in which you sell the book has to be enticing. Okay, so the page is, in this particular case, is Amazon.com and where your book shows up. So making sure that your cover looks good, your book description, and all those other things, that helps people that when they come to your Amazon book page, they say, oh yeah, I want this book. This book is totally what I'm looking for. And the final part to book marketing is the act of getting people or leading people to your book, okay? So to better understand this, now, before I get into that, what's really important here is that you guys are here at the summit. And the summit is already geared towards teaching you a lot of the different things that you can do to truly do well in step 1, 2, and 3. That's the things it takes to make a good book. Just like we learned in the previous segment, is the acts of writing and getting into a system and actually making your book. Okay. But also too, later on in the summit, you're going to hear from some great people and some great lessons about how to put together a great book, how to then place it onto Amazon and get things like reviews. And then finally, all the different ways that you as an author can truly lead people to your book so as to make sales. But talking about leading people, okay, one of the things that I want to focus on is how do you get people to your book once it's been put together, once you have it up on Amazon? What are the things that you can do? Now, there's a lot of ways that you can lead people to your book. And a lot of times we call this forms of traffic, okay? generating traffic to your book, people finding your book. Okay. You can do things like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Amazon ads. You could do BookBub, promotion sites, email blasts. The point is, there's a lot of different really cool ways to generate traffic. That being said, though, is when it comes to traffic, many of these things require either having a following or being known, and requires a lot of work and for you to build skills. So to break that down, it's a lot easier when you've put in the time and effort to grow your Facebook following. Then you can use them as traffic to come and purchase your book. Or it could be, Facebook advertisement. That's a lot of work and it takes a lot of skill, but you have to be dedicated to it. The point though is that there are a lot of forms of traffic, and it's important, especially for new authors, to really pinpoint that form of traffic that they want to study and they want to develop their skills and build out. However, though, my favorite, okay, form of traffic is getting Amazon to actually send people to your book. Now, it's a lot easier to understand this because the first and foremost is you don't need to have a giant following to convince Amazon to send people to your book. You do not need to have a giant amount of skills or effort in order to do that. You just need to understand how to work with Amazon so as to aid Amazon in understanding your book and knowing who they should show it to. And besides, Amazon is an amazing opportunity to send people. Okay, each month, more than 197 million people around the world go to Amazon.com because they're looking for something. In marketing, you don't have to convince people to come to Amazon and then decide to buy something. They're already there and they already know what it is they want and they're searching for it. And so, if we can help Amazon know that our book is perfect for these people, then you will drive more people, or shall we say, lead more people to your book. So this brings up the question, right? How does Amazon help book shoppers find the right book? And if we can understand this, what can we do as authors to say, hey, Amazon, my book's the right book for that? Now, before I get into that, you had the introduction about me, but I just wanted to help you understand why I might be qualified to talk about this. First and foremost, many people don't know, but I actually have dyslexia, and I never thought I'd be a writer. And so it's funny to my family who saw me struggling through high school and college, and hoping I got a C in English, to see that I now write books. I've published 9 international best-selling books on different topics. And on top of that, too, I'm the founder of Kindlepreneur and Publisher Rocket. So I really spend every day looking at different ways in order to work with Amazon and really to help new authors to get that first step into the market. And like they said too, is that I've consulted multiple large publishing companies and New York Times bestselling authors in fiction and nonfiction. So I've seen all gamuts of the industry. And like we also said too, is Amazon. And by the way, what I'm about to teach you today, this is what Amazon K2P officially said, was learn from Kindlepreneur on how to optimize your book for more sales. And it was about the knowledge that you're going to get here. So if somebody says, well, nobody really knows what Amazon's doing, I think we hit the mark with this because this is exactly what Amazon said about the content that I provided. So when it comes to getting Amazon to work with our book, there are steps you can take to increase the number of shoppers that discover your book. And the 2 biggest ways are Amazon search and Amazon categories. Okay. Now, what do we mean by Amazon search? Well, people go to the search bar because they kind of know what they want. So they go there and they describe the kind of book they're looking for. And then they see what Amazon presents to them. Okay. And they look for the book that sticks out. That's the one. And now they come to that sales page we talked about and they try to figure out if they want to buy it. Now, what's beautiful about Amazon search is that 66% of book shoppers begin by searching for their book through search. And the 7 Kindle keywords you choose affects if and where you show up. So if you know how to choose the right keywords, you will show up in front of more Amazon shoppers that are ready to buy. When we come to Amazon categories, this is a beautiful opportunity, especially in fiction, because a lot of fiction readers know what kind of books they want, so they will go to their favorite category and look for the top 20 books in a category. But regardless of whether you're fiction or nonfiction, being able to be in a category that lets you be a bestseller, it shows that little tag there that you see on the right that says bestseller. What's really cool about getting that bestseller tag is, first off, your book sticks out more in Amazon. Second off is that when people see bestseller, they think to themselves, oh, this book must be really good because people are buying it. And so therefore, they're more likely to buy it because others have validated that this is a good book by purchasing it. So having that bestseller tag really helps you to convert better. So I like to call this and say that keywords plus categories equals discoverability. So in this lesson, I want to teach you how to find profitable keywords and how to select best-selling categories. So let's start with Amazon keywords. Now, we talked about the 7 Kindle keyword boxes. And if you don't know, when you go to publish your book on Amazon, Amazon has a section here and says, hey, go ahead and try to help us understand what your book is about. Put the words and phrases that people might type into us when looking for your book. Now, a lot of authors make the mistake of just right here, just writing a whole bunch of random stuff that comes to their mind in the moment. And those authors are the ones that are truly missing out on Amazon's traffic and Amazon's desire to send people to you. And again, like we said, Amazon search is the process by which when someone types in a phrase, Amazon says, okay, here's the books we think fit that. Let's show them, and hopefully people select. And like I said, 66% of all book shoppers start their shopping by using Amazon search. What's more important is out of that 66%, 89% end in a purchase. That means that 66% is decided they want a book. They just need to find which book, and hopefully yours can be right in front of them. Now let's talk about why this is so important, okay? First off is that Kindle keywords affect your book's discoverability. Now, if you rank number 1 for a keyword search, that means that this particular phrase, somebody typed it in and you show up right at the top, 27% of people that searched it will probably click on your book. If you're in second, it's 12%, then 9, 8, and so forth. So to break this out a little bit more, the number 1 book in the search result gets 2 times more clicks than the book number 2. So to break this out a little bit further, just to make sure it hits home, is what if you rank number 5 for a book or for a phrase that somebody types into Amazon 1,000 times, right? There are 1,000 shoppers a month that type in this exact phrase. Then your book can expect to have 70 clicks a month. That means 70 new people came to your book, looked at it, and tried to decide if they wanted to buy it. But for that same term, if you rank number 1, you can get 270 people to your book. Now, you may say to yourself, well, that doesn't sound like a lot, Dave. And is that really going to get me that, first foot in the door? Well, the thing about keywords is that they add up. So not only do you have the first one, but you have 7 of them and you have even more, okay? And so all of a sudden, all of these phrases can really add up. And next thing you know, you have thousands of people coming to your book every month as you go. And again, that really brings about discoverability. So now that we understand the importance of keywords, let's go ahead and look at what exactly are keywords. And keywords are the words your target shopper uses to find the book they want. Now, fiction keywords and nonfiction keywords are a little different. Fiction keywords describe the type of story the book is about. So in this case, one of the things I did was I said, well, when we analyzed what people type into Amazon, and we found that when people are searching for fiction books, they use groupings of words that can be categorized in these 5 things. And that's settings and time periods, character types and roles, plot theme, events and situations, and story tones, okay? So settings and time periods could be Victorian, could be modern, could be Western. Character types could be, alpha male, Amish, widow, you name it. Plot themes are like, a war of 2 lovers, a love lost, woman becomes a widow. Events and situations are what I call like the catalyst, what kickstart the story. Is it a survivalist story? Is it a kidnapping story? And finally, story tone. And this is one of my favorites. When you look at genres, okay, there's a lot of different ways to describe. For example, in romance, You could go all the way on the left here, which is like wholesome Christian romance, or you could go all the way to the right with steamy romance or, other descriptive terms in there, okay? The point though is it's incredibly important to readers to make sure that they get the right kind of romance. Wholesome Christian romance readers do not want to have a, erotica, hot, steamy thing. And so they're going to put in their description something that makes sure that what they're presented is wholesome Christian. And so as you can see, we could have a grouping of things like Victorian second chance romance, wholesome Christian. And now these phrases come together. So let's look at nonfiction. Nonfiction keywords are how a shopper describes the pain point and the result that they want by reading the book. And again, we can break these down into 4 sections. There's pain points, like how do you describe the thing that is making you want to look for this book? Like, is it lose weight fast? Is it, stop losing your mind with your kids? Or how to not die alone? Like, it's not describing the result. It's describing the pain you have right now. I feel alone. I feel overweight. I feel lost. Now, results and solutions are the opposite of that, describing what it is you want. Okay. I want to feel great. I want to be rich. I want to have friends and influence people. So, again, both sides of the coin, the pain that drives you to it, the result that you want. Emotional amplifiers are words that are very important to make it incredible. It's not just lose weight, it's lose weight fast. It's speed reading in 1 hour. It's how to write fast, 13 ways to improve, and that sort of thing. And finally, my favorite one is demographics. Okay. So it's not just lose weight, but what if your book was like lose weight as a single mom? Evernote for lawyers and so forth. If we can truly identify the market and we can truly connect with them, it'll be great. If your keyword is exactly what I'm feeling and thinking, I'm going to be more likely to want to pick up your book. So, what makes for a good keyword? I mean, we know what they are now, but not anything that fits those just going to work, right? Well, when it comes to good keywords, there's really 3 steps. Words that shoppers really use when looking up for books on Amazon. Step 2, words that shoppers actually then buy books for. And finally, words that aren't too competitive, because let's face it, we want to make sure that our book can show up to them. So one of the ways you can do this is that if you want to see words that people have typed into Amazon, just go to the search bar and start typing in phrases that you've come up with. Now, notice that Amazon tries to guess at what else you're going to write. And all these phrases here are phrases that other people have typed. And so Amazon's using their history to say, okay, well, here's a couple of ideas. Maybe you were looking at Space Marine Ajax or Space Marine Romance, Space Marine Veronica Scott. These are all things that exist. Now, once you've created a list of potential keywords that truly, that people have typed in, the next thing is we have to verify that books that show up for this keyword are actually making money, because there's a lot of times people search for stuff, but it's not a good search. Let's face it, many of us have probably gone to Amazon and typed in some phrase, and Amazon's like, I don't know, here's a whole bunch of books that you can look at, right? And so people will revise their search, and they'll keep revising their search until it finally shows them what they want. So you'll see that sometimes a very broad phrase might not be a good one, but something very specific, like we said, second chance romance, Victorian, wholesome Christian, that might actually equate to more sales than romance book, right? So in this particular case, what you can do is once you type in the search phrase into Amazon, you can click on the book that shows up at the top, and you can look at the Amazon bestseller rank, which you can see here. And then go to my free Kindle calculator. Just type into Google Kindle calculator. It should show up. And put in that Amazon bestseller rank, and it will tell you how many books that day the book is sold. So now you can start to see, wow, okay, the book that shows up number 1 in Amazon is selling like 40 copies a day. And that's much better than one that's not even selling anything, but still ranks number 1. And that gives you an idea that books that show up for this keyword aren't actually converting into sales. And the third one is you want to look to make sure that what you're looking at isn't too competitive. So, like, are the couple of books that show up at the top, is it from famous authors? Is the cover amazing? Are there happy, lots of reviews? All of these things should kind of play into your subjective calculus when you're trying to figure out if something is or isn't too competitive. What I love to see is that there's a phrase and there's a book that shows up number 1, and the cover is meh, the reviews are Like you can clearly see I could do a better job on that. And what you do see though is it's making money. And that is a really great opportunity. Now, what I recommend is that if you're doing that process, I would take and build a spreadsheet and repeat that process over and over again until you find the right combination of words that truly describe your book, that people are typing into Amazon, and that people are actually buying books that show up for it and that they're not too competitive. And this may take time, but it is very important you get that because, like I said, this aligns you with Amazon. Now, I have a software, like we talked about, called Publisher Rocket, that one of the main features of this, called the keyword search, actually helps to break all that information down for you. Okay, so as you see the number one here, under number one, these are all the phrases and more that have been typed into Amazon. You just type in your initial phrase and it will start giving you ideas. It will also tell you how many searches per month that phrase actually gets. And so you can start to see that, wow, there's a lot of people, that are typing in Norse mythology audiobook. Not as many for Norse mythology for kids, but that might be an opportunity to get my foot in the door because it's low competition and it seems really good. All right. The second thing is it will actually tell you the average monthly earnings that books are getting that rank for that. And the third is it gives you a competition score from 1 to 100, with 100 being really hard and 1 being super easy. And of course, what's really neat about our system is that our system will actually tell you the likelihood that that phrase will actually make money. A key thing is you saw my red, yellow, green, right? Well, in the Amazon searches per month, notice that in this example, fantasy books for kids ages 11 through 14 has 642, but it's marked green, while its fantasy adventures is red with 1,500. That's because our system sees that more people end in a sale with fantasy books for kids ages 11 through 14 than those that just typed in fantasy adventures. And to give you kind of quick understanding what these numbers can look like, even if you start with something very broad like parenting, which gets a lot, a lot of searches, it's really competitive and that might not be a good opportunity for you who's new to it. But you can take the term parenting and start looking at parenting teenage girls, again, demographic, how to prepare teen girls, parenting teenage boys, parenting toddlers, parent ADHD. All of these are phrases that might give you, as a new author, a very strong opportunity to get your foot in the door and to get in front of shoppers without having to compete with the giant PhDs and all that. Also, too, when you start to get into keyword phrases for fiction, again, these are examples of what you see. One I want to highlight here is second chance romance with baby. Some of you might be appalled to see that, but I know it sounds crazy. But when we type into Amazon, sometimes we don't, I would bet that a large percentage of the people that typed in second chance romance with baby are people who typed in second chance romance first, saw that it wasn't showing the kind of book they were looking for, and then said, well, I want it to be like a family oriented and she should be with child. So they said with baby. And now all of a sudden you have a very significant area in which you can kind of get in front of the right kind of reader. So again, doing manually, you can get the list of keyword phrases that people have typed in. You can also get, the average earnings by using the steps that I took, and you can kind of maybe make your own decision as to what, is too competitive. With Publisher Rocket, it will provide you with a lot more examples due to our database and our systems. It will tell you how many people actually search for that. It will give you an average earnings very quickly, and it gives you a competition score. And so it makes choosing your keyword phrases that much easier and really getting your book in time in front of the right shoppers. All right, so we talked about Amazon search and both manual and automatic systems by which to really figure out those keywords. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at book categories because these are incredibly important. So again, like I said, Amazon has their category systems. And what we want to do is we want to be in the top 20 books in a category so that we can get in front of those shoppers that go to categories to look for their next read. And we want to make sure that we have a strong chance of being a bestseller in one of the categories so we can get that bestseller tag. It makes us stick out, it gives people more confidence in buying us. So how do we find bestseller categories that help to sell our book? Well, Amazon actually has a new system that started about a year ago. And the system, thank goodness, is way easier than it used to be. I won't even bore you with the old details of using BISAC systems and then contacting them for like it was a lot. So they simplified it. All right. One thing that's important for people to understand is there are 14,000 plus book categories and ebook categories in Amazon. That's a lot of categories, okay? And so what they did was now you can actually go into KDP when you go to select your categories, and you'll see something like this. And you can kind of click through a giant trail and kind of find what categories you can select. And again, there's 14,000 of them. There's a lot of really cool opportunities that you might not have thought of that are out there that truly represent your book. Now, one thing to note though is you only get to choose 3. And Amazon doesn't have to accept the 3 you choose and can remove you or add you to other categories as they see fit. Now, if you have done your keywords correctly, like we talked about above, Amazon is way more likely to keep you in the categories you choose. They're trying to say like, hey, I don't want somebody putting my book in a category that all the other information says it's not. And this is their way of stopping kind of scammers that might write a book about, Christianity, but try to put it in a mathematics category because it would be easy. So that's what they mean by that next thing. But if you have your keywords and you are selecting categories that fit your book, you should be fine. So that all seems really simple, right? Well, one of the funny things about Amazon is they don't always give you all the information. Matter of fact, they do a lot of maybe nefarious things in the background. And so it kind of bothers me that they don't tell people this. But the first thing is 54% of all those categories listed are duplicates of each other. That means putting yourself in one is like putting yourself in another at the same time. Pitfall number 2 is that 27% of all categories are ghost categories. Okay. Ghost categories are categories where it's kind of a fake category. You don't benefit from it. You can never be a bestseller if you select one of these because they won't give you a bestseller tag for it. Also, too, as a ghost category, there is no page that lists all the books. So people cannot come and look at, you in the top 20 because it doesn't exist. That means that choosing ghost categories means that you can't get in front of people. So to highlight that, not only do ghost categories get placed in category pages that can't be found by shoppers, you can't get a bestseller tag for them either. So you should absolutely avoid choosing a ghost category. It is a waste of one of your 3. And there have been some authors that have put themselves in all 3 of their choices, ghost categories, and they make amazing sales and they have nothing to show for it. There's no tag, there's no recognition, and that's really hurt them. That means you have a 1/4 chance of selecting a ghost. So how do we find the best categories? Well, and I want to illustrate that category 1 might only require 3 books to sell in order to be a bestseller. And category 2, which again, they almost sound the same, but could require 247 books. And you may say to yourself, really? I mean, that doesn't sound right. But there's 14,000 categories to choose from. So I assure you, you're going to find a lot of these where it's like, oh, okay. So how do we find best-selling categories? Well, step 1, we look at the categories of other books to help see what those opportunities are. Step 2, find the Amazon bestseller rank of the number 1 best-selling book in that category and put it in the Kindle calculator. And step 3, repeat until you find 10 or so categories that work for you and then choose the best one from there. Now remember, make sure the category isn't a ghost. You don't want to waste one of your 3. So to go over each step, like I said, when you go to a book that's, say, similar to yours, a competitor's or so, you can scroll down to this section and you can see the 3 that they are listed in, all right? You can click on one of those and it will show you a list of the top 20 books that show up for that category, like this. Now you can click on that number 1 book, and again, using the Amazon bestseller rank, take the ABSR of that book and put it into that free Kindle calculator, and now it will tell you how many books were sold that day. That means that if it says that 16 books were sold that day, if you were in that category and you sold 17, okay, or just one more than what the other one is, you would be the bestseller. So now you know that, okay, if I ranked number 1, or if I was in this category and I sold that many in a day, I get the bestseller tag. And what you can do then is that you can start to really build out a list. You can start looking for opportunities. Many of these only require, a couple of sales, and some of them require a lot of sales. An example of this right here is that I had a language learning book, and you can see the difference between these. From language experience approach, I only need 15. The education reference, 237. Language instruction, 13. Foreign language study and reference, 386. That's a lot of sales, a very big difference, 13 to 386. But sadly, when it comes to ghosts, there really isn't a manual way to figure out which ones are ghosts. You can click on the links in KDP because when you select the category, it will give you a link. You can click that and look, but it takes a little bit of changing the HTML, or not the HTML, but the link itself, and then kind of figuring out what it looks like. Needless to say, though, I really wish Amazon would make this obvious to people, and they don't. Another way to find the right categories, though, is again using Publisher Rocket. We have all 14,000 plus categories in there. We keep it up to date. So you can come in and start looking at the categories. And what's really cool about this is that you can easily see, without doing all those steps, how many sales that day in order to be the #1 bestseller. You can even arrange them from easiest to hardest. You can also see to be in the top 10. The other beautiful thing about it is that it will mark if it's a duplicate category. And if you hover over that, it will tell you all the categories it's a duplicate of. And it will also tell you exactly which ones are ghosts. It's kind of crazy, right? And these are big categories. These aren't something, cheesy or small. Book, mystery, thriller, and suspense, and crime is a ghost. How many crime books have put themselves in that category and will not benefit from it? So knowing whiches are duplicates and ghosts, you won't waste any of your 3 category choices. And so there we have it. Like I said, I want to make sure to give us more than enough time to be able to have questions and answers. But through this, we now understand how to choose the right keywords and the right categories. And those 2 things there help Amazon to better understand our book, and they'll be more likely to show us in front of the right shoppers. If we don't do that proper research and we just kind of willy-nilly pick things and kind of put things together and maybe check a couple of categories, it's kind of like starting a marathon with a broken foot. You're going to really start right out of the gates hard, and Amazon's not going to work too hard to try to figure out. So take the time, do your research, and help align yourself with Amazon so that Amazon can help you get in front of more shoppers and to benefit from. And so with that, we move into questions.